All I had to do was ignore all those errors. Juan, when we were reinstalling this, it was like giving me all these errors, and I just said, one of the options was ignore. And I said, all right,
well, I like that option.
let's just ignore it then.
All right.
You know?
Yeah, and just
Live on Facebook.
It works in management. You got problems, you just kind of ignore them. Next thing you know, manager of the year. I've seen it. I have seen
CEO.
it. I have seen it happen.
Here we go.
Sometimes that actually is good
In fact-
advice because you let emotions
Yeah.
settle down.
Well, in fact, there was my dad was telling me about this. There was a manager who got like an award for being this great manager that he everybody loved, and they asked him, "What's your secret?" And he said, "I always wait until the second complaint before I do anything about something."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's it. It's like, yeah, the first time I always ignore a problem the first time. It's like, because he said, you'd be amazed how many of them just go away. You know, like,
Right, figure itself out.
yeah, people just either get over it or it's
Well,
not a
don't-
problem anymore.
don't we do that with our kids? Or
Uh,
at least I do. I don't know
yeah,
about you.
I mean,
when they come yelling at me,
yeah.
Dad, it's like, no, you guys go figure this out.
Yeah, but a lot of that's because
Go ahead and
You think, like, look,
let's move forward.
you're a
Juan.
kid.
Yeah, let's get going.
this is not really a problem. You just don't even know what a problem
Warning.
is.
Well, a
The
lot of
Catholic Man
employees
Show
don't
is
either.
about to
That's true.
begin. If
There-
you're
yeah,
looking
all
for
right.
a dull, feel
Great
good
strategy,
religion,
Cotton.
or clap
see how
your
it plays
hands,
out
sit
for
around
him.
the
I mean, he
campfire
got
and kumbaya,
promoted.
Yeah,
You've
he did.
come to the wrong place. We are dealing with toxic levels of authentic masculinity. I would say good luck, but luck is for pagans.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. We are live. Go check us out on YouTube, Facebook. You can catch the episode. One unique thing about doing it on YouTube or Facebook is you get in between segments.
You get all the juice, baby.
You get all. It's a strong squeeze.
It's a strong squeeze.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. I'm Adam Minahan here with David Niles. We have Juan on the buttons. He is back. Juan is back controlling all of the camera angles, all of the live functions. Feels good to be back. We have not
You
had.
have to like comb your hair now and stuff.
I know I have to. Yeah, put on a shirt. We haven't been on YouTube. We haven't had a show on YouTube or Facebook.
I know it's been a
what?
minute.
I don't know how long, but
It
it's
has
been a
been
while.
a minute.
Feels good to be back.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It's snowing.
it is snowing. My Anna came in and she was like, "Dad, it's snowing." I'm like, "No, it is not." She's like, "No, it's snowing."
Mm-hmm.
Turns out it was.
It's snowing. I mean, it snowed pretty heavy out at my place.
Really?
Yeah. We
So
had
far
a
away.
snowfall. We had a snowball fight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Hey,
Yeah.
you and Pamela were just recently on the Messy Family Project podcast. Go check them out.
Yeah. Really love their show. Mike and Alicia Hernan. They're just awesome. I just really like all their insights into family. I mean, I think even the title really says it, because once you like get into family life, it is messy. There's just nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's awesome. But it's just gonna be messy in a great way. But
It's real.
it is. It's, it's like, this is it.
This is
We're in deep right now. These are the moments. These are the days.
Yeah.
Someday we'll think back on about, like, remember when we were in the thick of it? Like, this is the thick.
right.
So yeah, I would.
I wish there was a way to notice that there was good old days when you're in the good old days.
Right. Yeah. And
That's the Nard Dog.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, go check out their podcast. They do a great job.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I'm sure you guys did phenomenal.
Well, they just have a way of making it easy to be interviewed.
Sure. It's just good conversation.
Yeah.
So, if you're listening to the Catholic Man Show for the first time, we haven't done the whole format of the episode in a while. It's been a minute, but we're going to adhere to it this evening. We're men of tradition.
Yeah.
And so we'll go back. Started this tradition back in 2016. And so we'll
we have a man gear today. That's what you're saying.
Well, we have. Yeah, we're gonna do the whole episode where we have a drink, a gear, and a topic.
So what's our drink today, Adam?
So our drink this evening it's called Oak and Eden. It's unique. Now they have plenty of different types of whiskeys. This one is unique insofar as it's in bottle finished.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is that? What does that mean?
A lot of the purists are
gonna throw snowballs at this
right.
idea.
They're gonna scoff at this idea, and rightly or wrongly.
Sure. So it's a wheated bourbon. Wheated.
Just say it right.
And then it has a whiskey stick in it, a whiskey spire.
We've talked about the whiskey sticks, years and years and years ago. I have too. I haven't.
Years ago. 4 years?
It could be 4 years ago. I mean, it could have
Yeah,
been.
it could have been.
I have a couple. I used to use them all the time.
So what are they?
So it's just a wood, just an oak stick that they char on a couple sides. At least the ones I have are charred. And so it's supposed to be like the barrel. You're putting the barrel back into the bottle, and they actually have a drastic effect. They will change your whiskey within a day. So they say I think, as I recall, it was like every 24 hours. With the whiskey stick in the whiskey is the equivalent of aging it for an additional 3 years. Obviously, with diminishing returns.
Sure.
But I used to go and buy the cheapest whiskey at the liquor store just to really put it to the test, and then throw a whiskey stick in it for a week or so, and then drink it. And it's not going to turn it into, wow, what a good whiskey, but it turns it into a very drinkable whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It will just make it really smooth, really mellow out everything. That's what in the whiskey sticks in the past. Now maybe they're doing something different with this whiskey stick because they have one here in the bottle.
Yeah, so they have one in here. So they age the whiskey for 3 years.
Uh-huh.
So it's a whiskey. Instead of the second or the double barreling, which most people do, they finish it in a different barrel.
Yeah.
Instead of that, what they do is they put this whiskey spire in there and basically let you decide how long you're going to let it age, because it ages in the bottle.
Yeah, which is a little difficult because you don't know how long it was sitting at the store, right? Does it say when it, like the date when it was bottled, so that you know approximately how long it's been continuing
That's a
to
good
age?
question. I don't think so, unless it was on here that we already ripped it off.
Maybe.
It does not say that, but here's what it does say, and I don't know if this is copyright infringement or not with the Catholic Man Show.
I say just risk it.
Well, the very first thing they say is in the back is, "Here's to the Creator." It's like, bro, that's our thing. Cheers to Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, this is us.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'll let it slide.
So, and then it said this bottle is contained one of a kind of experience that's made possible with 4 elements: spirit, wood, fire, and infusion. Carefully selected by you, the end result is a spirit that is completely unique, made in the image in your image and likeness. Here's to you, and thank God for good whiskey. So it's unique because the longer you let it sit, the different it's going to taste different. So not everyone's going to taste the same.
So this whiskey, to me, tastes very different from most whiskeys that I've had. I mean, it almost tastes like it's spiced with like cinnamon and cloves. I mean, it has a lot of Krupnik
Feel to it?
similarities to me. Like it actually has spices in it.
Well, the proof is 58%, so it is strong.
So it's hot.
Yeah.
And it honestly, it drinks really well for being 58%.
It's bottled in Bridgeport, Texas.
There's
Can you
just
get it in
something
Texas?
about it that is a little off. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I think it's good. But I don't know. It's like a little syrupy, maybe. The smell.
The smell is of like caramel, vanilla, like strong maple syrup.
It's just so strong. The smell and even the flavor. On the finish, and it's a good strong finish. I like that, but it's like, wow, that's cinnamony and
Cinnamon on the end, the palate.
I've just never had anything that's that cinnamony
at the end
where they didn't actually put cinnamon in.
And it's not like red hot cinnamons. It's like this, like cinnamon toast cinnamon.
Yeah, like regular cinnamon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting.
I like it. How much was it?
I think it was, if I remember correctly, $55.
Okay.
So it's unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's a unique piece.
That is a lot for a 3-year-old whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you know, you getting the whiskey stick in there. They're not that expensive, but
And it could be, you age it for however long you want.
which you could do this with any whiskey anyway.
Correct.
Yeah.
No. But we're drinking them with our Catholic Man Show Glencairn glasses. You can check those out. These make great Christmas gifts.
Some say the best Christmas gifts.
Some do say this.
Some
yes.
say that.
It is a Glencairn glass, is a whiskey glass made by science to make your whiskey taste better. And your drinking experience altogether tastes better. One thing that
Especially
we do,
when it has our logo on it. I feel
Right.
like that really makes the whiskey taste better.
and we give those to all of our patrons, especially those who are not all of our patrons. Anybody $10 a month or more. Here's the deal: you sign up for $10 or more a month on our Patreon. We lose money the first month by sending you these because they cost us more. But we want to send them to you, and then hopefully you stick around for a little
So
while.
don't do that.
Yeah, don't stay.
You sign up. And
Sign up for a month and then
bounce.
cancel. But one thing we do as
you will upset Jim if you do that.
right, one thing that we do for our patrons during Christmas time is our annual Christmas cookies.
Oh yeah.
So if you have not signed up as a patron member, you go to patreon.com/The Catholic Man Show. You'll receive some delicious Catholic Man Show Christmas cookies made by Elizabeth. She has what's it called? Dizzy Lizzy
yes.
Cupcakery. Yeah, Dizzy Lizzy Cupcakery.
There are only two ways to get Catholic Man Show cookies. The first and most sure way is to become a Patreon member. The second way is to know somebody who's a Patreon member and you try to steal the cookies from them. Cannot advise. Method number 2. It's not worth it.
Go the former route.
Right. There is a virtuous way and an invirtuous way.
Mm-hmm. So go check us out on Patreon and support the show. 100% of your donations for Patreon goes right back into the show. We don't take any of that money. We only build up the show with that money. So 100% of your donation goes right back into the show. It's always nice.
Check that out. And I could hear people asking me about. I actually heard them in my microphone, like saying, "Dave."
Well, wait, microphones don't.
In the headphone, I mean.
Yeah,
I can hear through the microphone.
that
actually.
is
It's a gift.
impressive.
It's a
Yeah,
gift.
that is impressive.
Dave, how do you get your logo onto the Glencairn glass? And the answer is, of course, with lasers. It's laser etched
Naturally.
with lasers. Dishwasher safe is this glass. It really is a marble.
No doubt.
Patreon.com.
/The Catholic Man Show. You can also check us out on CatholicManShow.com. We have beer glasses, 16-ounce beer can glasses, which are awesome. We've not really sold very many of those because we haven't pushed them at
We
all.
forget to tell people sometimes.
But we also have those. So go check that out. Then make great Christmas gifts. We'll be right back. Dude, we have not sold hardly any of those. But we haven't really...
They're Pamela's favorite glass.
They're mine.
Yeah.
So Porch Pirates, huh? That's where we're going next.
Porch Pirates?
Yeah.
To steal the cookies.
We're promoting porch piracy.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show, supporting porch piracy since November 2022.
Yeah, so I ordered the hoodies and t-shirts.
Oh,
Did you order me one?
the Don Juan.
Because I'm not a Patreon member.
Well, they're not going to go to all our Patreon members.
Well, I want one. I want 2, actually.
Or we're going to give you... Yeah.
You only get one if your name is in it.
Is that true?
That's true.
You said Don, though. You have Don David.
I am out of luck.
I got you, bro.
I guess.
I was going to be really sad.
Yeah. So I ordered those. So they'll be coming in like 3 weeks. Sure. Yeah. Forget. Yeah. Like we're live. I forget this. Oh, Dave, tell him what you changed it to, because I bet you changed it to start the music back up.
it? B. B for back.
That's why it was B?
Yeah.
I didn't change it.
Well,
I just was
no.
like looking what it was.
I think I did because the I was next to the O, so sometimes I'll push it by accident.
One is like intro, and then the O is like outro.
Yeah, but they were next to each other.
But then the O became the intro for the other 3 segments. I don't know. They were just right there.
Oh, B for break. That's what it was.
B for break.
All right. Whatever. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles here with Adam Minahan. Juan Posada is in the house. Lest you fear, we were going to crash and burn. We have a driver. So, we're sitting here drinking some Oak and Eden.
Could make you feel better about the situation.
Right.
Could make you feel worse.
I don't know if you've seen Juan's driving. There's a reason why his wife usually drives, I think. No, that's not the case. I guess not since you became a citizen. Right? Because she used to drive.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We're drinking some Oak and Eden in bottle, finished. American whiskey.
We did bourbon.
It is a bourbon. Okay. So check it out. It's different, but maybe you like it. Our man gear for the day is a tombstone.
Headstone. Yeah.
Is there a difference?
I don't know. I was going to ask you.
I think that I use them interchangeably.
Yeah, tomb. You probably put. Actually, I don't know. I'm going to make that up.
I think that they could be used interchangeably. Maybe somebody out there knows that. Maybe there's some
Email Dave about it.
burial philosopher who is able to make a distinction between these two things. I think they're the same. Headstone, tombstone.
It's also appropriate being in the month of November.
Yes. All Souls Day.
All Souls. Yeah.
Or, as some people call it, David Niles' baptism anniversary.
Some people do say that.
Because that's also a big deal. Same day.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you make it to the cemetery this year?
I did not. No, I really wanted to on All Souls Day.
Mm-hmm.
My family was out of town, and we're doing the one car situation.
Gotcha.
And
so you would have had to walk.
So I would have had to walk, and I did Google how long it would have taken me, and it would have taken me about an hour and a half to get there, hour and a half back. So I debated about it for half a second, and I said, you know what, I'm going to pray right here.
You should have called me. I'd have picked you up.
Yeah, probably should have.
Yeah, you should have.
But I did pray.
Okay.
But it was just not at the tombstone or at the cemetery, which is a tradition in the Minahan house typically to do this. Unfortunately, Haley's uncle passed away just a couple days before,
right.
And so we've been doing that.
His funeral was
the day after or something.
Yeah.
So we've been working through that. We were working through that. But one of the things that we do on All Souls Day typically is we go to the cemetery as a family.
Mm-hmm.
We pray the rosary, and one of the things that we do is each kid gets to lead a decade of the rosary, and we all lead a decade of the rosary, and we will say the person's name for each Hail Mary on the tombstone. So we'll go to the first tombstone, say that person's name, pray the Hail Mary. Next tombstone, say that person's name, pray the Hail Mary, and we just kind of work our way down.
Mm-hmm.
The cemetery. Now, at the beginning, we say this rosary is for everybody in this in the cemetery, for all the souls of the faithful departed. But I've noticed that by making sure it's a person, like saying their name, praying for them by name, my kids take interest in it much more because they want to know, well, how old was he when he died?
Mm-hmm.
Did he go to, was he a veteran? They don't say veteran, but they say, like, did he go to war? Because
Mm-hmm.
you can always, they typically have that.
Yeah.
Is this a priest or is this a religious? There's so many things you can tell by the tombstone.
Yeah.
And so it gives, it just kind of is more of a, I don't know, like a real, it's not a tangible thing, but it makes it more realistic.
Yeah.
By bringing up their names.
Sure.
And so, yeah, that's what we typically do. This year was a little off.
And, it's good on All Souls Day to visit people of, the graves of people that you knew. Pray for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also good just to kind of do what you're talking about and maybe find an area of the cemetery where maybe he's not. And the older areas, probably no one visits anymore because the people who knew them, they're probably also dead.
Right.
And so what a blessing for those souls to have someone still coming
And praying, for them by name specifically.
Right, exactly. Which might not happen very often,
Right. Who knows?
And so that could who knows? You could be the thing. Yours could be the prayer that makes the difference for them.
Entering into the kingdom of God.
Right, exactly.
And how awesome is it going to be, God willing, you make it to heaven, and then you get to meet all the people who you helped get into heaven.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, once they get into heaven, they're going to have a devotion to pray for you.
Right. That's what I.
So it's all about being selfish here.
That's my motivation. I mean, nothing motivates me like me. You know what I mean?
Juan, you have the difference.
Yes.
Okay.
So the headstone typically was the one that was on top of a concrete slab above, so it was standing up.
Mm-hmm. The
So
tomb was above.
the tomb is the one that's like flat on the ground. So if you stand up like 90 degree, it's
All
a
right.
headstone. Tombstone is a flat.
Okay, we're like the whole
We saw a lot.
sarcophagus was,
We
the
saw a
top
lot of those in Ireland.
Yes, people buried in the church itself.
Right. That good distinction.
All right.
Thank you, Juan.
Good to know. Good to know.
So the Minahan tombstone story. Did you know there was one?
Yes. I think.
Yeah, I think so. But so small world, right? My family and Pamela, your wife's family, they came to Blaine, Kansas, a small little town in Kansas, and immigrated to that little town together.
It is a small town.
And yeah, it is tiny. But they, her family, my family, were
Yeah.
there. Super crazy.
It is crazy.
When my I guess it would be two great uncles. When he was there, he was a little bit of a drinker. And one night he was drinking, maybe had a little too much, caught up to him a little bit.
Okay.
And he started worrying about not having enough money to have a headstone. And he was like, well, I'm going to go make one. In case
now.
In case I die. And so he just went home drunk and started making his headstone and made it. And it is his headstone.
How is it?
It is terrible. Yeah, it is. It's he probably put boards together, poured concrete in it, made a little bit of a, I don't know, it's probably 4 to 6 inches high, and then he took a stick basically and wrote Minahan.
That's it.
And that's it. It is on his headstone.
Just Minahan.
Just Minahan. Because he didn't know when he was going to die, so he couldn't put
But he didn't
dates.
even put his first
His first name. Nope. I have a picture of it. And it's in
And the next day,
he died. No.
and then or even several days later, he still thought this was a
This
good
was
idea.
a good idea. This is what I'm going to use.
I guess at the end of his life, he really didn't have any money for a headstone.
I think that's true.
Because
there's a
I
lot of
imagine
Minahans that
if he did,
were very hard up.
they'd have been like, yeah,
You know what?
let's get a better one.
You know what, Jim? We're gonna buy you one.
Right. No
Yeah.
problem. You did have some money.
Right.
You lost.
So
and
that's-
we found it.
That's the Minahan headstone
Wow.
story.
So, today I text you after our last episode. As I was leaving, I don't remember what we were talking about, but I remember telling you that would be a great man gear. We should do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then today was trying to remember what was it that I said we were going to do a man gear of. And so I text you, and thank God you remembered. It's like, oh yeah, that is a good man gear. Having forgotten all of that throughout this week and trying to remember what it wasn't just today I was trying to remember. I had still been thinking about my own headstone all week and had totally forgotten that was in fact the man gear that we were going to use. And so I had been thinking about, okay, here's the strategy if you can afford it.
This is an investment.
This is an investment.
Like almost no other investment.
Right, because it could be the difference between you going to heaven or hell. depending on like, hey,
or at least, well,
we're getting out of purgatory sooner.
yeah, I don't think
I mean,
the difference between heaven and hell.
It could be.
I don't know how.
The Lord might show you mercy when you otherwise don't deserve it, simply because of the prayers of a holy person.
Okay.
I believe that there's a precedent for that between like people who were married to saints. They prayed for them, and like even though their husband was a scoundrel, like because of their prayers,
there's biblical
right? Because of the prayers, even the scoundrel gets into heaven. You
Okay.
know, so I'll take whatever I can get. That's the thing. But you have to have a headstone that's more interesting or bigger than all the other ones around.
or at least intentional.
It needs to draw you. When people survey the field of headstones, there needs to be something about yours that people want to go look at. It needs to be attractive in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So I want mine to say something on it, and this is what I've been thinking about all week. Is what
You were like, I told you I was sick.
yeah.
So you want on your
You
headstone.
didn't believe me. I want it to say something like, "Dear brother, you may not know me, but please pray for my soul." Before it says anything about like the hobbies I had in life,
Yeah.
or like
yeah,
nobody cares if I like to play the piano or not. That's not the thing I want on my headstone. I want it to say something like that. "Dear brother, you may not know me. Please pray for my soul. But please pray for me." You know? And my wife's, maybe I can convince her to say, "Dear sister,
Yeah.
you may not know me, but please pray for my soul."
I also would like to have some kind of Marian aspect to my headstone.
Mm-hmm.
I would like that.
Right.
I've seen some really beautiful ones. If you go to like Baton Rouge or Lafayette, Louisiana, you know, their churches right outside is where all of the cemeteries are, the Catholic cemeteries. Like you walk out of the church and there's the cemeteries. And they have some beautiful headstones and tombstones, very intentionally Catholic ones that are gorgeous. And
I mean, it is an investment because people
They're
will come.
expensive.
People will come and see, and it is expensive. But man,
because the average
make
is
a
about
huge difference.
$1,500.
yeah. And
So-
if you get a big one, it's going to be a lot more than that.
Right. We'll be right back.
I do want a big one though, because I want people. When I on All Souls Day, sometimes we'll go to just a random funeral, like, oh, there's this little cemetery that we pass all the time. I've never had a reason to go in there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like I like to drive before we get out of the car, drive around
Kind of check it out
to
first.
see.
Get to know the lay of the
Right.
land.
If I can tell that, oh, over there,
Is
that
the
must have
Catholic
been like
area.
where they, or either the Catholic area, or that must have been where they started, because those headstones all look a lot older than
Right.
the ones over here. Because I want to go to the older ones. They're just way more awesome.
Well, and that's even in Ireland, right? Like when we would go to the churches, like, hey, we're looking through a bunch of them, like, let's find out. Like, there were some that were like 1940s and 50s that were in there. Like,
Oh yeah,
what are
at
these guys
doing? Oh, what was that place called?
One of the castles.
The Rock of Cashel.
Yeah, Rock of Cashel. It's
Had
like,
just these old.
yeah, and I was like, what?
all surrounding the whole church there. Yeah, and then some of them was like 1982.
Yeah. How did
You're
he
right
get-
next to a dude who died in the 1400s.
Right. How
And
did
apparently it's like there's these people are in the family, and so they still have the right to be buried here. Which if you have that, if you can get
I want that.
if you can get into a tourist place where people are going to be coming
Yes.
all the time, especially on pilgrimages,
Right.
oh, that's the place to do it.
Yeah, you really want to be one of the first people in the cemetery to be buried.
Right, or you want to be in a like a cemetery that has a gorgeous, gorgeous chapel, where there's going to be maybe where people are going to want to go to mass. You know,
Right.
where mass will be offered for the repose of the souls, and so you want there to be an attraction.
Right. Yeah,
where
imagine
you're
being
buried.
like one of the last people to get buried in the cemetery that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just tragic because there's one like right kind of downtown Tulsa that I drive by every once in a while, and I would just like almost kind of like, oh man, like my heart kind of hurts because there's no one else being buried in there. It's like a little plot. I don't remember where it is, like off Peoria, like 6th and Peoria.
There's
or
one
something
right
like
by
that.
my parents' house.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah,
Kind of the same thing.
Exactly. It's like no one else is getting buried there.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like so that means also no one's really going there anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's a really great idea though to bring, like, to reinvigorate the tradition of making the sign of the cross when you pass
Oh yeah,
the a gravesite. When I was a kid, we used to hold our breath
yeah. I
because
remember.
they can't breathe, so you shouldn't either.
I remember doing that one time. Like the very first time I heard, maybe it was with you. Like I heard you say that.
They were that was
Like,
something kids did.
Yeah,
I mean, it
kids-
wasn't just
yeah,
just us.
Yeah. But like somebody introduced it to me,
Uh-huh.
and I was in the car with my dad, and I was like, I want to do this. Like we were driving by it, and I was like, I did it, and he was like looking at me like, what are you doing? And then we finally passed, and I was like, and I was like, dying of breath because it was a long cemetery.
Right.
And he's like, what were you doing? And I told him what it was, and he goes, well, was that fun? And I go, no. And he's like, well, why'd you do it? And I go,
I don't know, Dad.
I was like, I don't know. I'm
Dad,
not.
I do a lot of things I can't explain. All right.
He's like, I'm never doing that
It
again.
shouldn't surprise you.
Yeah.
One time, we were like on our way to school or back from school or something. We always passed the same cemetery, and my mom must have like looked around or in the rearview mirror, saw that there was nobody behind her. She stopped the car. While we're passing it, she just stopped, just sat there and watched us, see how long we could hold our breath. Messed up, Mom, but well played. Well played.
Any thoughts about like marble versus granite versus for the headstone?
You got to get whatever's gonna last.
So what? Granite? Does granite
I
last
don't know.
longer than marble?
I don't know. I don't know about
Titanium.
like certain stones. Like over time, if you have acid rain, which will happen, then the acid in the rain will just eat away certain stones. Like when they were doing, George Carpenter talks a lot about this. They were very specific about the rock that they chose because it needed to have certain properties so that in 1,000 years it's not, deteriorating. And so sometimes you'll see these old statues that just the faces are like just withered away down to like a nub. And then sometimes you see old statues that still look incredible, and it has something to do with the rock that they use. So I don't know, but I'm sure the person selling you the headstone, hopefully they should be able to,
Tell you.
talk about that.
I'm gonna ask George to make my headstone.
Well, George is a lot older he's not a lot older than you, but I guess he could do it now. He could do it now.
He can practice for his.
Yeah. All right. Wait, let me pull up my notes.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Again, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook.
We continue the conversation about headstones.
In between. So tonight we're going to talk about peace.
Which I did
resting in peace.
Did not make the correlation until we got here that
with the headstone.
Hey, this is this
in the month of November.
I mean the peace in November, and also Advent's coming up.
And Advent.
We
there's so many things.
My last topic, we talked about Christ the King in preparation for Christ the King Sunday, which is coming up this Sunday. Christ the King Sunday is the day to like really, really Sunday hard, I think.
Last day of the liturgical year.
Yeah. I can never remember if it's the last day of the year or if it's the first day of the I know it's like
it's the last.
I know you always say like Happy New Year's on Christ the King.
It's the last.
Okay, that's good. I just can never remember.
There you go.
Is this the first or
no,
the
you don't
last?
have to. No, you don't have to.
Because he's both. He's the Alpha and the Omega. And
That's
so
right.
it's confusing. It's like a circle. Are we going backwards or forwards right now? Hard to say. So anyway, we have a lot of tranquility of order here today on the show, which is actually the definition of peace.
Nice.
Yeah. So I feel good about it. I'm at rest.
Nice.
With how things are going.
I dig.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Advent is coming up.
So let me throw this out there to you.
Throw it.
Read this actually today. Aquinas says the ordering one's life is the task of a wise man.
Order is, like that is the thing that we should all be striving for, especially since we wrote our book, Living Beyond Sunday, How to Make Your Home a Holy Place. Check that out.
Can you screenshot that one?
It
more?
makes you it's made me really think a lot about order, because that's really what you're striving for also in the domestic church. And then you realize, oh, that's what I'm striving for all the time.
Yes.
Is to have things well ordered, especially the spiritual life. The spiritual life is essentially ordering. You're just wanting to get things well ordered, whether it's your appetites, your desires, your virtues. You want to have well ordered virtues. I mean, there's this thing that happens when you start learning about virtue, that no matter what virtue you're talking about, they all end up blending together. They all kind of end up becoming the same thing. It's like, oh, all the virtues are order. All the virtues are charity. All the virtues are prudence. In some ways, all the virtues are justice, right? And so it's like, oh, justice does kind of encompass all of the others. Order encompasses all of the... And it's just this weird thing. They have their own individual meaning and place and practice, but they also end up in the pot with all the others, which is kind of interesting. So I think it's important to talk about peace and to really be thinking about peace as we approach Advent. To me, Advent is a time for peace. It's a penitential season, but it's different from Lent, right? And I think our penance should be more ordered towards peace. Instead of like in Lent, maybe it's more ordered towards just
the cross,
ascetics.
The cross.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good way to put it. But here in Advent, it should be a more peaceful penitential season, I think. And so peace is the tranquility of order. And I want to talk about that for a second, because a lot of people have this idea of peace where I think they would define it as the absence of conflict.
Okay,
and that's not what peace is. And in fact, Thomas Aquinas talks about this in the Summa. He says one of the questions is whether peace is the same as concord.
Okay.
And he says that yes, you need concord to have peace, but peace is more than just that. So it's not just the absence of conflict.
Okay.
So if you think about, this is I think a great analogy.
Which is what he meant by concord, right?
Yeah, the absence of conflict, right?
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, or accord. I think today we would say
in accord.
Things are in accord.
In accordance with.
Accord, right? Yeah, it's like everything is like copacetic.
In place.
Yeah. But if you think about a classroom full of children.
Oh man, I'm already have anxiety.
There's three classrooms here. In the first classroom, it's chaos. Kids are arguing with each other. They're not sitting at their desks.
Okay.
It's just the teacher can't get control of them. Obviously, that's not peace. In the next classroom, everything is quiet and nobody is arguing with each other. But this is still not peace. Okay? In the third classroom...
I'm more peaceful.
Yes, it feels better.
Yeah.
It's way better. Oh,
right.
Definitely, no doubt better. In the third classroom, the children are all standing in array, singing as a choir. That is tranquility of order. So there's a difference between simply the kids are not fighting with each other in that second classroom, and in the third classroom, they are all working, they're all filling and playing a specific part in order to achieve this higher good. That is peace. That is where you have the tranquility of order.
Okay.
And so I think that is important to keep in mind, that that's what we're striving for when we have peace. It's not just, hey, nothing's wrong. It's not, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. if it's not exactly the best version, then it's not yet full peace. Okay?
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. So most of what we're going to be pulling from today, most of what I'm pulling from today is from The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis.
I've heard of it.
If I had to be locked, stranded on an island with only one book aside from the Bible, I think for me it's tough, but it's either between Imitation of Christ or
Really?
yeah.
When have you read that?
Oh, I read it. I've read it a couple times.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I have very rarely heard you talk about it.
It's just one of those books that you
just
can
keep to
read
yourself.
the
You're
same.
so selfish.
You can read the same page over and over and over again. Like you can just have that same one page, and oh yeah. I mean, every single page is it's such a gut punch every single time when you're talking about, hey, these are the things that are most important in your life. These are the
Is
things
it like
that
a
you
manual?
should be doing. Yes. Yeah, it's ordered really interestingly. It's ordered up into 3 books, so to speak. And then towards the end, it's actually a conversation between you and Christ. And Christ, it's not like Christ appeared to him and gave him these, but he's writing the words of Christ, and they're incredibly beautiful, and like they cut you to the quick. So, have you read it?
I have not.
Oh man, like it's a treasure trove, and it's ordered also in questions. So it's like very topical, on how man should best understand this, how to best overcome this, So like it's really easy to reference, and it's each one is not long. He writes.
I have the book.
He writes
I
very
just have not read it.
Yeah, you should open it. So what I've done here is just go through where he talks about peace in different sections, and we're going to be pulling from that. So first of all, virtue, I just want to say, is not.
Are we talking about leisure at all through this?
No.
Wow, we're gonna talk about peace.
We can talk about.
We're not talking about leisure.
We're
talking about rest.
I think it's a great idea. We can. It's not in any of my notes, but that doesn't matter.
Okay.
So peace is not a virtue, according to St. Thomas Aquinas. He asks this question, whether peace is a virtue, and he answers that no, it's a result of charity.
I like that.
Yeah. And he says, one virtue can have several causes. Charity has several causes. Peace is one of them.
So, charity being, I don't know, this is dangerous because I'm just working this out in my head live. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but, if charity is like willing the good of the other, the first 2 commandments, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. If, peace is say that again. What was the definition there?
Tranquility of order.
Yeah, tranquility of order. And then what was it it is a result of charity.
It's like a fruit of charity.
A fruit of charity. So that would be like, you have everything ordered insofar as that you have love of God and love of neighbor and willing the good of those things. That would be very well ordered, thus peace.
Right. It's also a fruit of the Holy Spirit.
Yes, that's true as well.
Yeah. So he uses the example that for though fire by heating both liquefies and rarefies, there are not 2 powers in fire, one of liquefaction and the other of rarefication. And
rarefication meaning purification?
I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. And fire produces all such actions by its one power of calefaction. I think that means heating. So anyway, how to gain peace. Let's talk about that.
Oh, okay, I like that idea. Yeah, let's do it.
So these
order one's life.
Order one's life. That is okay. Well, great. I have nothing to.
This is the Catholic Man Show with Adam and Hannah David Niles.
Blew through all my notes, bro.
Sorry.
One thing that Thomas à Kempis says, which I thought was interesting: a peaceful man does more good than a learned man. A peaceful man does more good than a learned man.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can see that, right? Like, there's saints who didn't know how to read.
Right.
And then there are philosophers like Immanuel Kant who knew how to read, who totally, rejected the idea, basically, of God.
Think about if you were a learned, peaceful man. Oh, man.
Thomas Aquinas.
Oh yeah, yeah. See what he did?
Francis de Sales.
A lot of guys.
A lot of guys.
A lot of guys.
And gals.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep talking about peace on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.
Peace.
Juan, do we have anybody on our YouTube channel or anything anymore? Like, no one probably is.
See.
There's people. Look at that.
Oh,
There's
look,
comments.
there's comments even.
Yeah.
Nice.
I forgot about them. It's my fault.
No, it's not your fault.
Juan.
Zachary was giving the beautiful explanation of the difference between Tombstone and everything,
Oh,
and I just missed it.
sorry, Zachary. That is totally Juan's fault. It's just, we have our everything back in order.
I feel so tranquil about it.
It's peaceful.
Like I'm almost tranquilized, maybe.
That's the whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I just need more tranquilizers in my life.
Yeah.
Because I just.
Juan, you
I
should
just need the
revisit
order.
the glass.
Nope.
Okay. Like, you should, like,
What are you gonna do with it all?
you should at least, like, revisit it.
Yeah, you should at least revisit it, Juan.
I tried already.
You revisit.
I added water, and I still didn't.
Because I like it.
You missed the Great Books meeting last night. Juan was a man alone. He was like, you know what?
A man on his own island?
He was like, Socrates is wrong.
Man.
He should have escaped. He was. In fact, Juan said it was unjust of him not to escape. How about that?
So, one thing I love about Juan,
Is that
when he is convicted of something, he will
I
stand
do
by
too.
it, even when he feels like he is the Lone Ranger.
he doesn't care about being the Lone Ranger.
No.
Did you
Actually,
change your mind though by the end of the
I
night?
did revisit it, and it's a little bit better now.
Yeah, yeah.
But did
like,
you change your mind?
Did you change? I felt like you may have changed your mind at the end of the night.
The only thing he changed.
You were very close anyway.
The only change in me is that he had already foregone the, like.
Okay, hold
no
on.
Appeal,
Hold on.
no
Just
nothing.
for those who are watching right now, the context of this whole conversation is that
talking
we're-
about Crido.
we have a Great Books program that we read with Deacon Garlic and us three and a handful of others.
Archdeacon Garlic.
Archdeacon
please.
Garlic. Sorry, yes. And the book that we were reading was Crido by Plato.
Plato.
One of his
One of
five,
the Socratic dialogues.
one of the 5 main ones.
Yeah. There were
Um,
5 original ones. And there were more that came later. This was
Oh.
like, he put out these. I learned this last night. These 5, they were like, boom, here they are.
Mhm.
And then later, he wrote some more to complement it.
Nice.
He or maybe other people. In fact, there's even...
I was listening to Gorgias the other day, one of his dialogues, and it was really interesting. Like, I was like, I'm just gonna read all of Plato, or at least
Because
listen
I
to
didn't
all of-
read the Apology, I was missing a
Oh,
lot.
dude, you didn't read it?
No. Dude, I was swamped. We were moving. I didn't have time to like...
Dude, I loved the Apology.
Yeah,
I didn't have time to sit down on a couch and read. In fact, I didn't even have a couch to sit on because it was
Right.
like in a warehouse.
I loved the Apology.
Yeah, it sounded really great.
It was. It
And
was.
You know what would have really helped in understanding?
I hate that I missed Crido because I really enjoyed it,
I did too.
and I would have loved to have the conversation.
Yeah, but
And Phaedo's really good
Without-
too.
without-
Phaedo's all about, like, if you're a philosopher, then you're just preparing yourself to die.
without reading the Apology, you're like, what the heck is going on? Why is this
Yeah,
dude
I
in
know.
prison?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I knew the story of Socrates. That,
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
hey,
you had no idea what was
you
going
asked too
on.
many questions. You made everybody mad, and they
Yeah,
killed you.
you're like-
and they killed you for it.
You know what did Socrates had? Peace.
He definitely had peace.
I thought you were gonna say guts, but yeah.
I mean, the man was just sitting there sleeping like a baby
Slumbering.
on his deathbed.
Let's see.
It's also interesting that, like, does Mary appear to him?
I know. I really like. I mean, there's some
that
people
just
who say
like
that.
happens, and then like, oh, yeah, all right, well, never mind. Oh, I had this weird dream. This lady appeared to me.
This
Anyway,
this
let's
beautiful.
talk about something else.
Yeah, this beautiful lady, and then they just stop talking
and,
about.
And in 3 days, on the 3rd day, you're gonna come to heaven, basically. Crazy.
I liked Crido a lot.
I did too. All right. Welcome back. This is the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles here with Adam Minahan. Talking about peace. Peace, baby. Rend your hearts, baby.
Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. So let's talk about how to gain peace. All right.
I like it.
Because this is something that a lot of people don't have, and that a lot of people
Hey, hold on. We were.
they really struggle.
I have to get this out.
Okay.
I held this in, and I was just like hurting that I wasn't there yesterday. So in the middle of the break, we were talking about reading Credo.
Something completely unrelated.
Something completely unrelated. Again, another reason why to join our YouTube channel. But I had a phenomenal joke I was going to open up with that I didn't get a chance to go with.
Share it.
And I was going to, like, at the beginning, Deacon Garlic talks about, like, what do you guys think of the text? And I was going to start, like, looking at it like I was just completely confused, and I was going to just be like, I thought we were all reading the Creed in Spanish. The Credo. And I was, like, ready to, like, I had practiced it. Like, I was ready. I was excited because it was, like, a good joke that I made up, and...
Mi belivo.
El Credo.
Especially because the audiobook that I listened to it was more like Credo. You guys say like Credo.
Credo. Yeah, but it's like Credo,
Some people
Credo.
say Credo. Yeah. Credo.
And I was like, I
tomato.
text messaged, like when I knew I was going to go, I text messaged Deacon Garlic. I was like, here's my joke. Feel free to use it.
He did not.
And he goes, I'll ponder it.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Such charitable
It's
answer.
not that Deacon doesn't tell jokes.
Right. It's just like,
And he tells good ones, but
he doesn't tell bad ones.
they're like, it's only on his timing.
Right.
You know?
Right. Anyway, I just had to get that out.
I
just
appreciated
felt,
it.
because I really liked that joke.
It's too bad.
It's unfortunate.
Maybe.
But I was able to use
Maybe
it.
next time you're in a.
I
great
was able to use it.
Yeah, you got it out there.
Yeah.
So peace.
Okay, let's go back.
Now that you've ruined everyone's with your joke. Just kidding. It was all right. It was okay. But really, there's a lot of people out there who, I think this is something that they just yearn for. You know, that they just don't have peace in their life, and that things
Right.
are a struggle.
That's right.
They just don't feel. They just don't feel like what they do matters. You
Right.
know that.
Do you want me to tell my JP2 story that I did?
Sure. Yeah, is it? Yeah, if you think it
It
is
fits
good.
in.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is something that I was talking about in one of my talks that I gave at at a diocesan event, and we were talking about communication because that's what I'm the communications director for the Diocese of Tulsa, and I said like St. John Paul II had such a unique way of communicating the gospel to people, and why was that? Like in 1979, he came to Washington D.C. and he gave an address, and thousands of young Catholics gathered around. And they were all there to hear what he was having to say. And at the end of his talk, they all started saying, JP2, we love you. JP2, we love you. And so he heard that and came back to the mic and said, perhaps I love you more. And when he did that, the crowd erupted. Like they were all like, cheering.
That's what it's
they were all
from.
excited. They were all excited. And it was like, well, why is that? Why did they love him so much and he loved them so much? Well, at the beginning of his talk, he said, "Friends, I bring you the peace and joy of Jesus Christ. The peace and joy of Jesus Christ." And it's like, this is what people want, right? They want, in this world of chaos, in this world of uncertainty, in the world of anxiety and depression and hopelessness and despair, what do they want? They want peace. They want hope.
It's what we're made for. We'll have rest and peace
Right.
at the end of our life with God forever. I mean, this is what we all yearn for we have a deep desire because we know God made us for this. And if we don't have it, there's just something that's not right.
Right.
Because we know that we deserve something greater than what we have.
And when we have it, when we obtain it, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to share it. Like when I have something that's so great in the weekend, the first thing I think about, like, something happens in my family, something awesome that happens to one of my kids, did something amazing. I think about, like, I can't wait to tell Dave and Juan about this, because I want to share this good thing. And so when you have this piece, what do you want to do? You want to share it.
Yeah. So here's here's how to get it.
Let's get it.
Because if you can't share what you do not have. So
a fundamental principle that Aristotle talks about.
We talk about that a lot on the show.
He rips us off.
He's always doing that.
Yeah.
So some of the things that Thomas à Kempis says is, he says, true peace of heart is found in resisting the passions. So
suppressing the appetites.
Right. If you are a person who is always like satisfying your passions, satisfying your appetites beyond what temperance would command, then that is going to create it's going to crowd out your peace, is what it's going to do.
It's going to create unrest because what you're doing is just not ordered. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
He also says to live in obedience as much as possible. He said, it is a very great thing to obey, to live under a superior and not be one's own master, for it is much safer to be the subject than it is to command.
This is a Catholic hack, right? Like, if you can find somebody who basically is telling you, like, here's your spiritual director that tells you how to live your life,
right? And
you, in full obedience, say, I will do exactly what you say, then you have such a freedom.
It's one of the great beauties of Exodus 90. That you submit yourself to a rule. I mean, and it doesn't have to be Exodus 90, but if you don't have a spiritual director, if you can't, like, it's just not prudent or whatever, give yourself a rule. Saint Benedict, the rule of Saint Benedict became so
popular,
famous, and to this day is just this incredible rule that's still used almost in its entirety.
Clear Creek Abbey.
Not very few people use it. All of it, because they don't get up very few people get up at like 3:00 or whatever it is in the morning. But he also says, do not concern yourself with what others say about you.
This is hard.
This is very hard, and it's like, it's like one thing to say that.
Right, exactly. Because there's
nothing to do it.
Like, there's some people who, the disposition like you have a disposition where you very rarely care about what other people say about you, except for the people that are in your, like, super inner circle. Right. If one of us in this room, your wife, your parents, something like that.
I try to just get over it quickly.
Well, you do a really good job of that. That's probably not my disposition.
Also, being, like, incredibly absent-minded helps. Because you just accidentally move on.
Right. Yeah. But that's really hard to do. Like,
yeah,
we all, like, want to be people who are liked. We want to be loved, right? And so. It's hard whenever you get criticisms. Like, you get criticisms from all sorts of different things, but it's hard to absorb.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Right, but that is important. You gotta have, like, remember what really matters, and that the opinion of others.
Yeah, but sometimes
not one of the things that actually matters.
Right, but sometimes that thought, like, just sits. It engulfs, like, your thought process to the point of, like, you can't pray very well because you're thinking about this. You're thinking about this one person, what they said, what you should have said back, or, like, how you should have reacted when you didn't react this way, or whatever it is that's just consuming your
I've
thought
caught
process.
Myself getting wrapped up in, like, something that a politician said, and it interfering with my prayer life. I'm sitting there having this imaginary argument with a politician and winning, obviously.
Well, it's not very hard. Nancy's not that great.
I mean, I came up with some good things to say. I mean, I can't remember any of them now, but
right. But so what I try to do is so when that happens to me, here's what I do, and I've been having to do this with this specific thing recently. Is I bind that thought to the foot of the cross and let the Lord take it and do with what He wills, and then I ask immediately for the grace of forgetfulness from Our Lady.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I mean, it's like this combo, this 1-2 combo that I like immediately do. In fact, because there was times where I was in adoration, I was in the chapel, I was praying, and I was just constantly being bombarded by this thought, and it would not go away. And so I just finally said, you know what? This thought, I'm putting it at the foot of the cross. Lord, you do with it as you will, and Mary, please give me the grace to forget about it.
There have been other times where I've tried to do something like that. I haven't done it exactly that way, but then I realized perhaps God simply wants me to endure this. This like this thought that like just was kind of like taking away, it was just bothering me, you know. It wasn't taking away my peace per se, but it sort of was, because it just like why can't I get this out of my head? But once I realized like perhaps God simply wants me to endure it, I was willing to do that, and then it stopped taking my peace away from me. It's like when it happened, it's like, yeah, okay, you know, this is just something I have to put up with. And I will put up with it for the sake of his will. If he wills it, I accept it. You know, and so just the resignation. Once again, it kind of goes back to obedience. Now I'm like, I don't know if this is for me or not, but hey, if this is his will, I'm willing to obey.
Right.
I'm willing to whatever you want, God. I'm here. I'm your servant.
Yeah.
And so that resignation to it, like it just kind of wasn't a thing anymore. It just didn't bother me. So he says this, that now all our peace in this miserable life is found in humbly enduring. I didn't even mean, this is really going to piggyback what I was just saying, is found in humbly enduring suffering rather than in being free from it. He who knows best how to suffer will enjoy the greater peace, because he is the conqueror of himself, the master of the world, a friend of Christ, and an heir of heaven. I also want to say, if you're struggling with peace, remain in a state of grace. Perhaps you need to go to confession. Often God, out of love for us, will seek to disturb our peace in order to rouse us to return to him. I just want to get that in before we end. That state of grace is the ultimate source of peace.
We're out of time on the radio. Go check us out on thecatholicmanshow.com.
May God grant you his peace this season.
Cheers to Jesus. So here's something that I actually discussed with Bishop Condrela in the other podcast that I'm in, the other big podcast that I'm in.
The
other one. I was talking to Tulsa Time with Bishop.
Go check it out.
Yeah, you can, if you look up Eastern Oklahoma Catholic, you'll find that, and then a lot of other podcasts that we're putting out. But we were talking actually about peace, because we were talking this is an episode. This is a sneak peek because this episode hadn't been released yet. Because we were talking about you're bringing your family in. A lot of times, like Thanksgiving or Christmas holidays is a joyous time, but it's also a super stressful time because not everybody
fighting.
Yeah, not everybody, not family all gets together, and there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of,
because you have that one cousin who doesn't like your Trump shirt.
It's like ridiculous, and it's like
they don't understand. It just matches your Trump hat perfectly.
Right. And then so then your mom was like, please don't bring up politics, and you're like, fine, as you're pouring Trump wine.
Right, exactly.
With my Trump tie on.
Yeah. Obviously,
I can't figure out why everybody gets so mad every holiday.
Right. Obviously, that's a joke.
My friend told me that she had his wife came in, and her brother, we have a Trump mug for coffee, and he accidentally dropped it. It's like,
okay,
shots fired.
Yeah,
no peace in this household today.
You know what? It's like we all gotta get over Trump. But like, stop it. But anyway,
it's just funny.
I know.
I'm getting everyone a Trump chia pet for Christmas, which is a real thing. It is a real thing.
That is hilarious. But what we were talking about, like, how do we like have this peace in this chaotic time?
Yeah.
Like, that brings a lot of heartache, brings a lot of like frustration to a lot of people, right? How do we do this? And we talked about how the more anxiety that you have, the more depression maybe that you have regarding this thing, if you realize it and then you point yourself outward to helping others and intentionally make yourself available to others and intentionally try to lift other people up, it's amazing how not only do you help that person and like showing them the light, so to speak, but it also lifts your spirit, and this whole being the salt of the earth like takes place, and it actually kind of brings you out of this inward spiral that you were, that was taking place.
It's amazing how serving other people will just make you feel better.
Right.
I mean, if you just don't, if you're down, depressed, like go do some service. Like go to a soup kitchen, or do something charitable for somebody.
Right. Now, obviously, there are health that you need to go
Right.
see a doctor
Yeah,
if
but-
possible. But like, I'm just saying, like,
It's not going to cure your depression,
Right.
but it will make you feel better.
right,
I mean, like you should feel good when you serve other people.
right.
So Dave, what about this? People so many think like peace and happiness go hand in hand, right? But then you have this concept of happiness more linked to like excitement that the culture brings up as like try new things and like do your own thing, and how is more rooted in joy, the joyful part of happiness, than that tranquil happiness that is everlasting happiness.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to talk about happiness, that's difficult because how do you even define it? If you ask people to define happiness, you're going to get so many different definitions, and so it could just be all over the place. I feel like the culture, when they talk about happiness, they talk about the right to pursue selfish interests. Like, oh, you should, take care of yourself. Do that for you. Like, oh, pursue your goals. Like, well, what about your responsibilities? Like, you don't go just like get to go pursue your passions because you want to. Like, you might have kids to raise, like, you've always wanted to be a grass sculptor. Like, it's just been my life stream to do sculptures in grass, and it's just my passion. It's like, well, you know what? You need to put that to bed, okay? Because you got kids, and you're not going to be able to provide for them with whatever that is that you're talking. It's like, you just hear some people's like, oh, it's my passion to do this. It's like, well, you can't, all right?
Well,
because
yeah, I mean, because I think the understanding of what happiness is.
But that's what I think the culture, like, that's
Right.
what the culture is telling you, oh, you need to
Right.
do that to be happy. And it's
Right.
like, no, you don't.
Right.
You know what you need to do to be happy? You need to stop thinking about that.
Living the good life.
Yeah, you need to like
That's-
pursue virtue and live your vocation.
And both of those things are arduous.
Right.
Both of those things are not something that gives you immediate satisfaction.
Yeah. The happiest people are the people who work the hardest. For like that are ordered, well ordered.
Yeah, there's a lot of caveats
I don't mean the workaholic.
Workaholics, yeah.
No. But I mean the people who work hard at what they do and come home at the end of the day. And now they're not working. They work hard during the day at something that is important, something that they do, whatever it is.
The people who are happiest, like this, we were saying this before the episode, is like what Dr. John Cuddeback said, was like the people who are actually the happiest is when their potential is fully actualized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
That is when they're that's when they're at rest.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they're made for. Like, whenever you are fully capable of doing what you are called to do, this is the most satisfaction you get out of life. This is the most that you feel like, I am alive, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm at rest, I'm at peace with everything, because I know, I have the sense that I am doing what I am called to do. And so, I mean, those were philosophical terms that somebody smarter than me, like Dr. John Cuddeback said, but that's the reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and
because
there's just so much selfishness in the culture,
right?
And
no, I agree.
That is just gonna make you so miserable,
right? Yeah, because I mean, so yeah,
because you are not enough for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that this is like a basic thing about theology of the body. We kind of talked about when he did an episode on it several weeks ago, that you are not enough for yourself. You are made for something else, someone else. You are made to live in communion. And so you actually need other people. You need to be serving somebody in order to be happy. Because that's what you're made to do. Mm-hmm. Everybody. Mm-hmm. So if you're not serving, if you are only serving yourself, you're just going to be miserable. It's going to feel good. You're going to be full. You're going to be rested. You're going to have a lot of entertainment. But you are going to have zero things that satisfy in your life.
And you actually won't be rested.
Well, I mean, like you get plenty of sleep.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you won't feel at rest.
you're not going to be tired.
Because, well, there's plenty of people who get more than enough sleep and still
Right.
feel tired.
Well, maybe, but you're going to get a lot of sleep
Right.
if that's what you want. You know, because
Yeah.
all you're doing is serving yourself. So, it's just, like that idea of happiness. That's not peace. Okay, we're talking about something else. I think peace does bring happiness, but actually, I don't even think that happiness is something that you should directly pursue. I think, like happiness is something that you that will come. But if you, I'm going to directly pursue being happy. I think that it's a dangerous proposition.
Well, so this is the difference. This is what modernity, like this is the trap of modernity, right? Because modernity says that happiness is a like feeling that you get, that makes for yourself.
Yeah.
But what, even Aristotle and then Aquinas and Augustine and Aquinas, they all pick up on this, saying like, no, you should pursue happiness because we're made for happiness, for the beatitude of being with God.
Mm-hmm.
But the understanding of what that is it's an arduous path of living the life of virtue. So you should pursue happiness with the right,
like once again,
with the right understanding of what happiness is.
what even is happiness? I know what joy is. I know what contentment is, but like, where does happiness? To me, happiness is like this shallow idea that kind of goes along with some of these more meaningful things in life. But it's like, happiness is like, what is that, like kiddie pool stuff?
No.
Like and once again, that's just because I'm
This is
not
like-
understanding what it is,
Right.
But I know what joy is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know about pursuing joy. I have a lot of joy in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of happiness in my life, like that kind of stuff in the middle between being joyful and content, and like having a sense of satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness to me is like that kind of middle, the stuff in the middle between all those things.
No, I don't think that's the understanding of what
That's
happiness
just like how I
is.
feel about it,
Right. Yeah. And I didn't come prepared to talk about this.
Tell
so-
us what you know, though. Don't hide it from us.
I just think that this is the whole question that a lot of philosophers have taken on. That like how do we pursue the good life?
Okay.
Right? How do we? Because what do they mean by the good life?
A virtuous life.
Right? And how do we live a life of happiness, of beatitude?
Mm-hmm.
How do we live this
So
life?
do you have a good definition for like apart from joy?
I don't off
how
the
to,
top of
you
my
know,
head.
like, how to distinguish it from
Well,
joy?
I think to what Am is getting is similar to the definition of peace, that it comes in an order, right? When you have like a well lived life, a well balanced life. So that's where I was trying to connect peace and happiness, because like it depends on what you root your happiness in. If you're rooting your happiness in how much money you have in your bank account, you're gonna be a lot more fluctuating. There's like, can you find a lot of happiness in the things that you're thankful for, in the simple things?
Yeah, but
So I think it comes with that balance of,
can you define it can you distinguish it from joy?
yeah, because I think you can be happy and be sad at the same time, and you cannot be joy and be sad at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Okay, so how would you define it?
I would say happiness is
Let's do an episode. Hold on. Let's table all of this, and let's have an episode on happiness.
Okay.
Let's get instead of hypothetically, let's all just
Yeah.
throw out some.
It's like one of those things is like, yeah, I know what happiness is.
Because I
until
have some pretty good notes on happiness. I've already I've
Okay.
semi prepared for an episode on this,
All right.
and so I'd like to instead of
Very good.
shooting our shot here, let's table it and let's talk about that at a later
Juan?
time.
Table that, please.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
That was more directed towards David than Juan, but
He's the one who brought it up. He did.
you were the one that brought it up.
No,
I asked about peace
he
and
asked about
happiness,
peace and happiness.
Oh, okay.
you know.
I didn't bring it up.
It
I was just
me.
trying to answer his question.
Okay.
For once, the sidetrack was my fault.
Okay.
I should own up to it.
All right.
Okay. We'll have
Quick.
we'll have an episode on happiness.
Turn it off before something else happens.
Oh, are we done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, do you want to keep going?
Well, I mean, we didn't talk about like a lot of things.
We talked about peace. Leisure, that's a whole other subject.
Okay.
Just because we're not going to talk about everything that overlaps with peace.
I just like to talk about
I know
Joseph
you do.
Pieper.
I
Like
know
if
you
we
do.
can't talk about
I'm
it,
sorry,
like,
Adam, you have to
you know, I'll
control,
table it.
Control your own
You know what?
passions here.
I'll
okay?
table. I'll
You'll
table
be more
this
peaceful
for another.
You'll be more peaceful if you control your passions on this subject.
I'll table this for another time.
Okay. Quick, turn it off.